The body of the late Homabay Senator Otieno Kajwang has arrived in Kisumu as he now begins the final journey that will see him buried in his home in Homabay. The body arrived in Kisumu early morning and was received by hundreds of residents who described the late Kajwang as a humorous and loyal supporter of ODM. The viewing of his body in Kisumu will be at Ofafa Hall, and there will be another stopover in Kendu Bay ahead of an interdenominational prayer service at the Homabay County Stadium. Let's now speak to Frank Otieno, who is in Kisumu. Actually, I understand it's Fred Omulo who is in Kisumu to just give us an update on that. Fred, is the program going as scheduled? The people, the masses who have turned up to view this body, have they been able to do so?
Yes, Edith, the program is actually on schedule and has already moved ahead. The body arrived here at around 9 a.m. in the morning. The late senator received a hero's welcome. Remember, this is one of the city the late senator loved the most. He used to spend a lot of weekends around here. He had numerous friends and numerous associates, and he would meet them. He would usually relax at a hotel called the Sunset Hotel around here. So the body arrived at 9 a.m. There was a very rapturous reception right from the airport. The whole route that they were using was completely mobbed with all sorts of members of the public turning up to escort the body from the airport. It went directly to Jomo Kenyatta Sports Ground, where there was a brief viewing for a few people because the crowds were so immense, as you can see from the pictures there. Then they held a small rally, you could call it that, and the court leaders came here in full force. Raila Odinga, accompanied by senators as well as MPs, they've addressed the crowds that gathered here, mourners, and all sorts of people who in one way or the other were connected to Kajwang. They've already finished that session, which ended at around 11:30 a.m. this morning, and then the convoy was escorted as it sneaked its way out of Jomo Kenyatta Sports Ground, right around Oginga Odinga Street, onto Nairobi Road. They are now headed to Kendu Bay, but they'll be making brief stopovers, addressing the public in different places, because we've just received reports that in different centers along that route, people have gathered and are planning to, just have a brief stop and bid their farewell to the late senator.
All right. You're obviously describing something that will no doubt bring that city to a standstill. And I'm just curious what the leaders said. You did mention earlier that the former Prime Minister was there. What was the message to the people when he addressed them?
Court leader Raila Odinga was very brief in his remarks. First of all, he thanked the national government and the Senate as well as the National Assembly for the contributions that they made towards the family and towards this whole process of bidding farewell to the late senator. Then he broke into a traditional Luo rites that accompany the burial of a hero, singing songs, chanting chants of Joey, 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 which means buffalo, buffalo, meaning Kajwang was a fearless leader, a hero who led from the front. Then after that, since this was a very improvised process, they concluded with a little bit of court politics, warning rebel MPs. The Kisumu Central MP, Ken Obura, was around here, and the hostility of the crowd was such that he didn't get a chance to speak, and he actually left. So that was basically the message that was being communicated here. Other people such as James Orengo, Senator Mudhama, Junet Mohammed also spoke, and a lot of other friends of ODM were also here, cheering up the crowd, telling them to live up to the ideals of the late senator and other such messages.
Okay. Fred, before we allow you to leave, could you please tell us what the itinerary is looking like between this afternoon and tomorrow when he is expected to be buried?
Well, the cortege is now headed towards Kendu Bay. There'll be a lot of stops along the way because there are major centers such as Ahero, such as Paponditi, Nyakach. So there are likely to be brief stopovers in such places. But eventually they'll stop at Kendu Bay for not more than an hour, and they'll do the same thing that they did here in Kisumu, after which they will proceed for an interdenominational service in Homabay Stadium. So that should come to a close at around 6 p.m. today evening. Then after that, they will head to his homestead in Waondo village, Mbeta constituency, where they'll perform a traditional funeral wake. there's a traditional funeral wake where the dead person is brought to his homestead, and members of the family and close relatives of the clan, they sit there overnight, they don't sleep, they sit next to the body, they pray, they sing until morning. The body will then be taken to Waondo Primary School, where they will have a funeral. After the funeral, the body will be returned to his homestead in Waondo, where it will be buried with members of his family and his clan, close members of his family and his clan, to accompany the interment.
All right, thank you very much, Fred Omulo, who is following that story for us in Kisumu. And as mentioned, Kajwang will be buried tomorrow in Homabay, and we will definitely cover that for you as well as a country bids farewell to the late Senator.